Hey, welcome back to another video. We're doing an influencer reading. I wouldn't consider them celebrities, but these are influencers. Now, if you're not hip, baby, if you don't know, I am doing the renowned spiritual couple, VonTooCut and Alyssa. Okay, if you don't know who these people are into spirituality. They're pretty popular in the spiritual community. Like I said, if you're into the community, then you kind of know who they are. VonTooCut talks about spirituality for men specifically, and Alyssa, she used to speak for spirituality for women, and now they're joined together. And Alyssa is on the deep end, honey. Where is her social media? Like, somebody tell me. Every time I look at her social media, one day she'll have like 3 pictures, the next day it'll all be gone. Her YouTube, there are no videos. She used to be on YouTube a lot, and then like out of nowhere she deleted all her videos. Her Instagram is all about VonTooCut, and VonTooCut, all he posts about is his horrible ass music. All she posts about is the pills. All he posts about is the pills. If you guys don't know, they sell like herbs and pills and shit, whatever the case may be. And yeah, you guys, they kind of talk about their relationship on his channel, not her channel, his channel. I have a lot to say about this couple, but anyways, I don't do tarot readings anymore because I'm taking a break. Now I know y'all like, girl, I thought you said you wasn't doing tarot readings. Yeah, I'm not doing personal readings anymore. I should have been specific. I'm still gonna do, celebrity and influencer readings to showcase my talent, but I'm taking a break from those personal readings, okay? But they will be back, and I'll let y'all know when they will be back, okay? Sooner than later, they will be back. All right. So let's get into it. Hey! If y'all don't know why I'm doing that, that's because he does that all the fucking time. Anyways, real Atlanta. He's a real Atlanta YN. If you guys don't know what a YN is, it's a young, okay? It is a slang for young black man. Anyways, so let's get into it. VonTooCut and Alyssa. What is going on? First of all, I have a lot of lessons with these two to teach y'all, to tell you guys what you should not do in a relationship, the red flags you should look for. Okay, so let's get into it. So, first of all, control issues. I got that VonTooCut has major control issues. He is somebody that he needs to find a balance. First of all, this relationship is imbalanced. Period. They're imbalanced. Okay, somebody is being a little bit too mutable, and the other person is being too fixated. So what I'm trying to say is, Alyssa's being way too, she's being way too, what's the word, like she's changing too much, and he's not meeting her in the middle, right? It's kind of more so, you have to come meet me where I'm at, instead of them both meeting in the middle. Alyssa's constantly changing her ways, changing her views, changing her thoughts and opinions to meet his, instead of them meeting in the middle, right? And they need to find a balance. First of all, these two shouldn't even be together, right? But if they want to continue being in a relationship, they must find balance, okay? Now, the problem with VonTooCut is that he is unwilling to accept others' differing opinions, okay? He is a fake spiritualist, because the first thing you should know when you're going into spirituality is that there is no real such thing as right or wrong. It is just everybody experiences things differently, and so there's differing opinions and there's differing perceptions that are all equally valid. There is no right or wrong. There is no, oh, I'm right, you're wrong. It's simply, we're all different, and that's okay. So he's a fake spiritualist, period. As soon as I heard that, like, I already knew. Yeah, he makes himself seem like he is some sort of, what do you call the people that used to speak for Jesus? I forgot what, like a prophet. He makes himself seem like he's some sort of prophet for men, but he's a fake spiritualist, y'all. Please don't follow in it. Please don't follow within him, right? Speaking of, him being a prophet, I'm hearing that his target audience are usually people, and men specifically, who don't really know too much about spirituality, but they know some things, like, you know what I mean, the basic stuff. What goes around comes around, or whatever, whatever. And because he reiterates these dramatized ideologies, right? So, for example, say something, let me take something that's accurate and like real, right? So, hmm, let me think of something. You know what? I'll just use the example that they're actually doing, right? So for example, there is it's actual facts that the food that we eat are infected with parasites. They are infected and injected, the injected chickens, the injected turkeys, manufactured food, right? Man-made food that they try to advertise as natural and real, right? He takes things like that and he dramatizes it to a wide scale, right? So he learned, yeah, the food that we have parasites, right? Now there's bad parasites and good parasites, but he'll say things like, "Oh, this is why you can't eat none of the food from America, so you have to get all your food from South America, or you should get all your food from Africa, or all your food from the Caribbean because you're eating parasites." Yeah, there's good parasites and there's bad parasites. Like there's always parasites in food. I'm sorry, y'all. So he'll take little things like that and dramatize it. And he attracts these people that, of course, they don't know too much. They're trying to learn more about spirituality and they're falsely following under his guise, right? Of, oh, parasites are bad, parasites are evil. There's parasites in all the foods. You shouldn't eat any of these foods. You need to move to somewhere else. And yeah, so that's basically what it is. He attracts those type of people that really don't know too much about spirituality. So even me, right, when I was getting into spirituality and I was looking for people to look up to, I found his account, and at first everything was good. I really liked what he was saying, but then watching him for too long gave me a headache, y'all. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I started to get a migraine because he's one of those people. He's like Kanye. Like, he likes to talk just to hear himself talk. Like, he can go on, and I hate people like that. No shade. I talk a lot, but only on camera. Actually, no, that's a lie. But I know when to stop. Like, I'm very socially aware, okay? He's one of those people, he's too it's not even about masculine and femininity because that's something else that he dramatizes, right? He'll learn something like, "Oh, there's masculine and feminine balance within a relationship, right? You have the woman, she takes the feminine role most of the time, and then the masculine, right?" He takes it to the extreme. He thinks that being feminine is being subservient. Yes, yes, master, no master, like that kind of stuff. Like, don't talk back, always agree with your husband, obey your husband, like that kind of stuff. He takes little things that are real and apply to real life and he makes it extreme. Moving on. So I'm just saying that if you've come across VonTooCut, please don't follow in his ideologies. He's a fake spiritualist. Moving on. I also picked up that some parts of his body stinks. I don't think he stinks as a whole, but there's like a specific part of his body that stinks. I think it's his definitely his hair, and it gotta be either his balls or his armpits. Like those parts. Like not all of him, but if you get a little close, you start to get a little whiff. Anyways, so he also has mommy issues. I'm hearing that the mother, he wasn't born and raised by a typical mother. His mother actually acts like a man. So it's almost like he was raised as a masculine. That's probably why he doesn't really have too much respect or truly understand the essence and beauty of femininity, was because he wasn't really shown it throughout his lifetime. He was surrounded by masculinity. And so his mother was very masculine to the point where she could have basically been a fill-in for a father. And yeah, I mean, that's not all of his mommy issues, but that's one of it, right? So his mom is part of the reason for as to why he sees feminine women in that way, right? Like subservient. Moving on, like I said, there is unhealthy relationship dynamics. He is not meeting her in the middle. He's being too stubborn, like, "Oh, you gotta agree with me because I'm the masculine, or else." Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're my girl. You're supposed to agree with me. No, you're not always right. It's always good to meet in the middle, okay? He needs to change. So I also heard that there is a misuse of substances. I'm not going to say the D word, but DRUG, okay? But I'm going to say misuse of substances, okay? So for example, I don't think any hardcore, like I don't think any man-made or the white stuff, like no, nothing like that. But I'm hearing Mary Jane, mushrooms, other stuff like that. There's a little bit of a misuse. I don't see a necessary addiction. There could have been an addiction in his past, but for now it's like, yeah, you're not really using them as they were intended, or you're misusing them. I don't know what spirit meant by that specifically. In this relationship, he also allegedly does verbal and emotional manipulation, okay? I do see her feeling away, and then like he'll say something and it'll change how she feels. Like he has too much power over her. And I'm not saying that's all on him, that's also on her as well. um, I just think, okay, so for some reason, when I tap into his energy, I get that there's an ex he still thinks about. You know what I mean? Like there's somebody that's still on his mind that he hasn't completely gotten over. Like I see him hanging out with Alyssa, they're in the bed chilling, and then he's just thinking about, he starts reminiscing about an ex. There's one ex, even though he probably admits publicly that he's over her, or maybe he's admitted to Alyssa, deep down, and I feel like she probably knows this, he's not really over that ex. Moving on, he is an extremist, he is a hotep. Yes, the things that he says are right to a certain extent, but not to the extent that he makes it seem. Like I said, the whole, oh, there's parasites in the food. Okay, yeah, but that doesn't mean all parasites are bad, and that doesn't mean just because there's parasites in food mean that we can't eat any of it, like, you know what I mean? So moving on. Yeah, he's like that one uncle that's, at the cookout, smoking a cigarette, talking about, oh my gosh, the government. And it's like, yeah, some things they're saying are true, but they're taking it a little bit too far. So overall, like I said, he has an audience. Like, it's almost the way he kind of emotionally like manipulates Alyssa is kind of like how he does the audience. Like, he's a really good public speaker. I feel like if he evolved spiritually a bit more, he could really be a good speaker because he has a powerful voice and he's really good at persuading people. He could even be in sales if he wanted to, but he's misusing his gifts. Anyways, but yeah, his target audience are people that want to get into spirituality, but they're uninformed. Overall, he has a screwed view of masculine and femininity, and specifically as it pertains to relationships. Like I said, I feel like he thinks, okay, I'm the masculine, you gotta follow my lead or else. You must agree with everything. You're my woman, you gotta be okay. So you know how in the Muslim religion, the woman always prays behind the man, like her husband. That's kind of what it's like. Like, you must be under me, you know? Like, there's the husband and then there's the wife. That's how he feels. And that's not necessarily the case. There's something called dark femininity. I feel like feminine energy can be very powerful and strong, but in a more mystique, silent kind of way. Femininity does not always mean you're subservient. It doesn't always mean you bow your head. It doesn't always mean you're a slave. It means it's different. It's less abrasive than masculinity. He does have majority of a male audience, so obviously I feel like his audience, I mean, he does attract women as well, but his audience as a whole, I feel like it's mainly men. So obviously I don't see his audience really seeing too much wrong with him because he attracts men that think like him. Definitely hotep men. Moving on. He is a bit of a narcissist and he has a big ego. Again, fake spiritualist. The first thing you know when you get into spirituality is that you got to get in control of your ego, unless it's going to be in control of you. He has old ways that hasn't changed as well. So he does talk a lot about how he changed when he was from the beginning and to now, which if you guys don't know, he was more of a YN back then. Again, YN is a substitute for young black man, and usually those types are into gang activity, nefarious behavior, stuff like that, delinquent, right? So he used to be a delinquent. But I'm hearing he still has some of his old ways. Like, you could take a boy out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the boy, that kind of thing. Yeah, like I said, his mom is very masculine. It's almost kind of weird because it's like, aren't you supposed to be, I think that's why he likes women who are subservient as well, is because his mother is so masculine. And I feel like growing up, he probably looked at his mom like, Mom, aren't you supposed to be cooking and, baking cookies and shit? Like, why are you out here acting like a nigga? Moving on. He can be cheap. I don't know why I heard that. I feel like he can be a little cheap when it comes to spending gifts on Alyssa. Like, I'm not saying she wants designer shit, but like, even if she didn't want designer stuff, it's like, it's the thought that counts, right? I don't know. I feel like he's a little cheap when it comes to buying her gifts or something like that. Moving on. Or he can just be cheap with his spending habits in general. Them pills are falsely advertised. So we're gonna get into Alyssa's energy real quick, but this is everything that I wrote for him. Them pills, there's something he's not exactly, it's either there's something he's not saying about those pills, or he's fluffing it up to make it seem like it's better than what it is, right? That's like if I took vitamin C pills and advertised them as um digestion pills, right? Like there's something he's not completely being honest about. I said, I'm not saying like there's something like I don't think there's an extra secret ingredient that we don't know. I actually think it's the opposite, okay? Like I said, something tells me it's giving regular vitamin pills and then you write a label over it and it's like, okay, scratch out vitamin C, we're going to say super strength. Like moving on. Like I said, not telling the full truth, like making it seem better than what it actually is. And also, yeah, like I'm hearing the placebo effect. Like just because, okay, so basically, if y'all are not into psychology, the placebo effect, I mean, even if you're not, people know about this. It's basically when your mind kind of alters the effect of something because you think it's working. It's almost kind of like manifestation or when people hmm overall, I just pick up that he likes the power he has over her. So if you guys don't know what I'm saying, the power he has, like he likes that she's quiet. Like you shut up and you let me say what I gotta say. Like he likes that she is subservient. I'm sorry, there's no other ways to say there's no other way to say it. Like yeah, he likes that she's quiet and again, she lets him run the show. This almost kind of feels like y'all know female led relationships like it's a girl's world and I'm just living in it. Like y'all know how it's so crazy. It's like the opposite. That's what I'm saying. Like he has such a screwed view of what masculinity and femininity actually looks like. Usually like women, they kind of wear the pants in a feminine way, right? Like, oh, that's my boyfriend. He lets me do whatever. Like, that's the kind of vibe I like. A man that's just gonna sit back and let you be a girl. Like, for example, say okay, right? In most relationships where men love and adore their woman, um, if the guy wants to eat at an Italian restaurant, but the girlfriend wants to eat at a Japanese restaurant, usually the guy's gonna be like, you know what? I love my girlfriend. Let's go eat Japanese. It's the opposite. She's going to suppress her wants and her needs, so they're gonna go eat Italian. Y'all see what I'm trying to say? Listen. Now let's move on to Alyssa. So, Alyssa, first thing I heard was mouse and lion. Okay, she's the mouse and he's the lion. Again, there's something about her suppressing herself, and it's not in a healthy, well, it's never good to like really suppress yourself. But her voice, I feel like I see her talking, but her voice, like, there's no, it's like Ursula took her voice. Like, girl, where's your voice? Speak up, okay? Like you're kind of letting him bully you a little bit in a way. Again, she's very subservient. Let me go search up what the actual meaning of subservient is so you guys can understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, boom, found the meaning. So, subservient means prepared to obey others unquestioningly. Okay? Submissive is another submissive and accommodating is an adjective, but prepared to obey others without question. Very subservient. That's what I heard when I was channeling. So moving on, her ancestors are begging her like she needs to reconnect with her ancestors, like she needs to go out in the woods, in the river, something, and like really sit down, meditate, and reconnect with her ancestors. She was good with them before because she was following in her path. And now it's like, okay, when your ancestors don't approve of something that you do, sometimes they can take a step back, right? Like if they don't approve with how you're living your life, it's almost like they throw a tantrum or like a fit and they kind of like distance themselves from you. Like, we don't support this. That's how you know if your ancestors support your decisions or not, because they'll be vocal about it or they won't be vocal. Like I said, if they take a step back, that's usually like, you're not doing something right, sister. So they're begging her to they're begging her to reconnect. Okay, moving on. Again, she's not meeting in the middle. She's morphing way too much. She is changing and morphing way too much. Now, should you change and morph in a relationship? Yes, to a healthy extent. Like I said, especially if you have negative traits, it's always good to change your negative traits, not specifically because of that person, but because of your own betterment, right? And evolution. But it's almost like she's morphing into him. She's morphing into his image and his ideologies. She's not her own person anymore. Okay, I also heard isolation, which is not good. Okay, not the good kind. She's isolating herself a little bit too much and she's going off the deep end. I feel like she doesn't really have any friends like she used to, but then hanging out with Vaughn has kind of yeah, I just feel like she doesn't have any friends. I feel like she had friends at one point, like way before not before they started talking, but before she officially began, living with him and stuff like that. I feel like back then she had more of a social life and a friend group. I don't know too much about Alyssa. I was following her a little bit before she got with Vaughn. I feel like I was following her when she was with him, just not publicly, like they were probably talking in the DMs. But anyways, yeah, I feel like back then she had more of a social life, and now it's like her main socialization, her main interactions come from him. If you guys get what I'm trying to say, that's the number one mistake you should never do in a relationship, okay? Always have your own independent social life. You should never fully 100% rely on somebody for social interaction. It never ends well, never ends well. Okay, you should always have your own life, because at some point you're going to get annoyed and you're going to get tired of them very quickly. Okay, so always keep your own life. Number two is, you never, like I said, I think I mentioned this already, but don't change yourself too much. Change the parts that you need to change, the obviously bad unhealthy parts, but you should never be changing yourself so much to the point where you're no longer meeting in the middle and you're just completely morphing yourself into what they want you to be, they meaning the other partner. So, yeah, she needs to get a social life. She needs her own life. She needs her own friends, okay? Her own group of people. I almost kind of feel like he has isolated her a little bit too. I feel like she's done it on her own free volition, but maybe he's been like, "Oh, those friends that you hang out with, yeah, you got to go. Like they got to go. I don't like you hanging out with those people." Like, maybe that's an assumption. Moving on, she mothers him a lot. Again, I feel like he has mother wounds, and she is like, uh, she's a feminine figure for him, but also kind of like a mother figure. And I think it's because she's so calming. I feel like she inherently heals his mother wounds. I think she's very opposite of his mother, and that's why I feel like he looks for the opposite of his mother in women. I think he has a bad, or not the best, relationship with his mother, and so she's healing his mother wounds. But that's not her job. Okay, she needs to find herself. I think she was on the path to finding herself way before him. This was when she had a YouTube channel before it suddenly disappeared. She was on the path of finding herself, and I feel like this kind of skewed her off that path, right? So moving on, they moved way too fast, and she moved way too fast with him. Okay, I feel like if she would have continued to vet him for a little bit longer, maybe she could have seen the signs, and maybe she could have been like, this isn't really what I want. I also feel like if she gave herself more time to spiritually evolve, she would be a little bit more knowledgeable on what it is she wants and doesn't want. I just feel like part of the reason why she got with him so quickly was, even though she was on her self-love journey, I think everybody wants to be loved. Okay, everybody wants to be loved, everybody wants that partner, the one and only. Everybody wants to find their life, their soulmate, whatever the case may be. But yeah, she moved way too fast. I also feel like she moved in with him very quickly because she wanted to escape her family situation. That's what I picked up intuitively. I felt like she wanted to escape her home, and that's why she was so quick to move in with him. I think what really drew her to him as well is the financial freedom, right? I'm talking about when they were just like, getting to know each other, they were talking. I think she saw like how much he was able to move around, take trips and vacations, and she wanted that, right? And so there's nothing wrong with that, but everything that glitters is not always gold, right? So moving on, I think she relies on him a little bit too much. Like, she's heavily reliant on him. That's what I picked up. And it's because, if you guys don't know, Alyssa is Canadian, and she never lived in America before. And so obviously, I'm pretty sure she doesn't have too many friends here, like actual really close friends. She doesn't really know too much, and that makes her heavily dependent on him. So in a way, I kind of get the feeling that she feels a little bit trapped. Even if it's subconsciously, she may not feel this way consciously, but subconsciously she feels like, okay, I got to stick by him because he's all I know, right? You're in an unfamiliar area slash territory. But her spirit guides are really popping out. Like they're very vocal about not liking him. That's what I'm saying. Like if she actually listened to her spirit team, she would know, like, yeah, they don't support this decision. They want her to get back on her own path, okay? Her ancestors are saying, and her spirit team, they're saying that he's ruining your path. Like, don't go down his path. He doesn't have a good path. You have an even better path, right? If you think that he is this big monumental figure, they're telling her you're even bigger. Like you have a better path than him, and he's skewing you from your path. Um, I also hear he kind of stresses her out when he talks too much. Like she may not say it out loud. Like there's a lot of things she thinks in secret, but she may not tell him verbally because she may feel like it'll cause an argument. And it's like, you know what? It's better to just shut up than to hear him talk for a little bit more. I think that he stresses her out with his constant like his barking. He doesn't yell, but he's very aggressive in the way he talks, and I have experience with people like that. I'm not gonna say too much, but I have experience with people like that, and it gets exhausting. It's draining after a while to constantly be surrounded with that energy. Um, so yeah, I also picked up that she has a different soulmate. Her soulmate is way more similar to her. This is another like number three. Opposites don't always attract. These two are way too different, is what I heard intuitively. They're way too different, and I'm a firm believer in opposites do not attract. Okay, sometimes there's things that are way too different, and then you guys can't meet in the middle ground. So overall, yeah, she has a different soulmate, and it's not him. Her soulmate is a little bit more similar to her, a lot more calmer than Vaughn. Still masculine in his own way, but still calmer than Vaughn. Okay. So moving on, Spirit says speak up. Speak up. You're too quiet. You're way too subservient. You need to speak up. And they want her to go back. Spirit is saying to go back home, reconnect with your family a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you need to get back in touch with your roots. Okay, Spirit said go back home or at least find your own home. You know what I mean? Like you're spending too much time with him, and unfortunately she's taking on his energy, and his energy is not completely positive, and so it kind of drains her down a little bit. Um fertility is very Her fertility is very potent. She's very fertile. I'll If she's not looking to have a kid right now, I tell her be very careful. Okay. Okay, I don't know why, but they just say, "Girl, be careful." Okay, because I see them possibly having a daughter if they were to have children. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying if they were, it'd be a daughter. I feel like. Um, Moving on, yeah, she wanted to escape from her family. I feel like that's why she moved in with him so quick. And in the beginning, she was drawn to his ambition. That's one thing. I feel like she sees the good in him, even though he's not that great of a person. She sees the good and the positives in him, and that's what keeps her around, right? So he's very ambitious. That's one thing I'll give him credit for as well. And she likes his ambition. She likes how he's a go-getter. He's gonna make money any way he can. He finds some way to support himself somehow. She likes that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in this case, I don't think the positives cancel out the negatives. I think the negatives cancel out the positives. Wait, you basically there's more negative than positives. Okay, so moving on. Spirit saying, yeah, don't go down this path with him. Don't go down his path. His path is his path, and yours is yours. And there's no. Okay, I see like the trails in a nature park or in the woods, and then like the paths veer off into different um directions. That's what I'm seeing. Overall, yeah, spirits asking you, your ancestors, your spirit team, what happened to your friends? Go get back in touch with them. Okay. I'm hearing Alyssa's one of those girls where, you know, she gets in a relationship and this relationship is consuming her completely to the point where you don't have any energy or any time to communicate with anybody else. You don't have any other social life, and that's a problem. Okay. Spirits asking you, what happened to your friends? Go call them up. That girl you haven't talked to in months, go call her up, see how she's doing, apologize. Um, but yeah, she relies on him heavily. I feel like she feels a little trapped. Um, and she's blindly following following him, Vaughn. She's blindly following Vaughn. And that's not a good thing because Vaughn is not the second coming of Jesus, okay? As much as he may try to make himself seem, he's not the second coming of Jesus. And he says a lot of things, and his ideologies are very inaccurate. They're not good. She's morphing into him, and he is ruining her brand, okay? So, like I said, Alyssa's ancestors, her spirit team, are very, very vocal about her getting away from this man. Okay. Moving on. Overall messages Spirit had to say about this couple is opposites don't always attract. These two have two different paths and they need to move on from each other before things get even more serious, like they have a kid or something. Moving on. I hope y'all enjoyed this reading. I would recommend her to get away from him before she's like really attached to him to the point where she can't do anything. Like, for example, if they build a house, they have to split finances or a kid. Okay? I hope y'all enjoyed this reading. Um, this I also want to say that I don't make these readings just to be messy. Every video that I do, there's a lesson to learn, and I want y'all to know that. Okay, I'm not just Miss Messy, Miss Kiki Kaka. I mean, we could laugh, but at the end of the day, there's also a time to be serious, and I'm doing this for the betterment of the community. I really just want to help everybody, and yeah. This is an example of a toxic relationship in the sense that they're not meeting in the middle. One person is being too mutable and the other person is not, being hmm they're not being changeable at all. All right, so I hope y'all enjoy this. Please let me know your thoughts, questions, concerns down below. And yeah, hopefully Alyssa one day she gets away from Vaughn, and I would love to see her get back on social media because I really enjoyed her videos. See y'all later. Bye. Like the video, subscribe, don't skip the ads, comment down below. Mwah.